All right. Are you ready for take two? Gabe remembers to turn on his microphone edition.
Gather together from the cosmic reaches of the universe.
You mean our guest tonight is
Dedicated to truth, justice, and peace. It's the world's greatest superpower show.
And welcome to Minding the Multiverse. My name is Gabriel.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we are here to talk comics, culture, and the age-old question, if given the powers of Superman, how long would it take for you to become a complete prick?
1 hour.
Without any hesitation,
I would contemplate
answer.
It would take me about 3 seconds to decide who I was going to be, and I'm pretty sure I'd be terrible.
Well, I do appreciate your honesty, and knowing you as well as I do, I completely believe you.
It's okay. You'd be safe. It's everybody else that would have to worry.
Oh, good. All right. Well, this question and more, but really almost entirely just this question, is pondered deeply in this week's selection of The Boys from Dynamite Comics. I was actually describing this week's episode to my uncle, and he asked why we would read something like this. And my immediate response was, because it was really good.
Because it's really good. Yes, because it's good.
Yeah, that's it. But you are a non-ironic Superman fan, right? Like, you dig Superman.
Yeah. I dig Superman. I'm not the biggest Superman fan in terms of knowledge. I haven't read every single thing that's ever been published, but I'm a fan of the character, all that good stuff, what he stands up for, blah, blah, blah.
Right. You're a fan of the concept.
Yes, very much.
Right.
I like the character, I like the art and I like the character design and all that kind of stuff. But I also like that he's just as strong as he is. A lot of people don't like that. I do.
Right. And so this arc that we're going to kind of travel down, this goes in a kind of a darker route for our superheroes.
Yes.
So but we like these kind of stories, even though they cast these characters in a not so favorable light. So why do you think that we kind of dig this stuff?
We were talking before we started recording, and it's when I was a kid, it was a no-go. Like, you don't mess with Superman in that regard. Like, he's this untouchable height of hero. He's the ultimate good guy, and stands for hope and all that good stuff. And so as a kid, it was like, no way, I would have hated this. Like, that's not what Superman would ever do. How dare you? And now, we're all adults. I'll be 40 soon, and I've lived in the real world for quite some time. And knowing how humans are, it's the honesty of what a person would do given those powers is what's intriguing. That's what's fun. And it's what's scary too. Obviously this stuff isn't real, but it's really what people would do.
Right.
If you could do the things that Homelander could do,
right,
you might hold on to some kind of, care for the people in your life, but everybody else, it's ants underfoot, man.
So it's just, it's putting these fantastical characters into what feels more like a real world to us.
Sure,
right.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially in the world of The Boys, it's something that's even manufactured, and we'll get into that. But these aren't gifts from the gods. They're not aliens. They're not people put on Earth like a god of myth to help humanity. They're just fucking people raised by horrible people. It's what would happen. It would be a terrible thing for the world.
Yes. And it's such a good story.
It's such a good story. Yeah.
All right. Well, before we get into all of that, Jeremy, you had a pretty sweet Facebook find recently. What were some highlights of that haul?
Well, it ties into what we'll talk about later in this episode, but I found a bunch of old 90s Chaos comic books, Evil Ernie and Lady Death.
Very nice.
Just been favorites of mine for a long, long time. And, the marketplace and other sales outlets on the web are a very good place to find things like that, because sometimes people either don't know what they have or just straight up don't want this shit anymore. Right. And if you're patient and you look every day, you find good shit. And I found a nice hefty stack of old 90s Chaos comic books. And Chaos isn't around anymore, and it's always nice to get your hands on some of that stuff. So
nice. So really you're collecting this for the sake of history. You're like the Smithsonian of like problematic 90s comic books.
No, nothing so what's the
grandiose?
Yeah, nothing so is like altruistic. It's purely because it's nostalgic. And I really like the art. You know, Lady Death has been a favorite of mine because of the way she looks. She runs around killing folks in lingerie. Like, can't get much better than that.
That was definitely a genre of comics in the 90s. A very lucrative and popular genre.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she's still around and relevant-ish. You know, she's got a new comic label, Brian Pulido and Jimmy Coffin. They have a new Coffin Comics. So, yeah, she's still doing her thing.
Well, that is good to hear. I'm glad that she's still alive-ish and well.
Yes.
And
still costing me a lot of money.
Yeah, which should we get into that now or should we get into that later?
We can talk about it after the episode.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So with that, we'll jump into our main story arc review this week. This week we are covering issues 1 through 6 of the Garth Ennis classic, The Boys. Season 2 of the TV show, based on the comics, is now streaming on Amazon. Have you seen any of season 2?
Nah. Oh wait. Season 2. Yeah, like 1 or 2 episodes. I started it, and things happen in life, and so I haven't really picked it up. I actually will rewatch what I have seen because I don't remember it.
Right.
Not to say that it wasn't memorable. I just lots of things have been going on, and so I got to rewatch it. The first season was fantastic. It's not like the comics, but it's really good.
I liked the first season. It's boys kind of adjacent. There's a lot of story beats that are different, but a lot that are the same. A lot of the character names and archetypes are the same, but the story behind it all is a bit different.
It toned down too. It's toned down. It's not certain things are toned down, certain things are not. But yes,
for those of you who have seen the show and not the comic, for us to say the show was toned down from the comic will give you an idea of what you are stepping into.
Yeah. Some pretty significant changes too to the boys themselves. Yes. I was surprised because this is I don't know if we should mention it, but this is our second time recording this episode because of some technical difficulties, and I found out. Yeah, it's all good. I found out that in the comic book, because I hadn't read it at this point, that the boys have powers in the comic book. It's they take the same crap as the superheroes. So yeah. In the show, they don't. It's interesting. Yeah,
and that was a big thing too. Really, Butcher's whole background, for the most part, is very different.
Very different, yeah.
But yeah, so I haven't seen season 2 yet, which is a good indicator that this podcast is not sponsored by Amazon. But I am getting around to it. So
maybe someday.
I know it's being released in a weekly format. So there's still a chance that I will catch up and be in tune with everyone else. So, cross my fingers there. Do you have any beef with the weekly release system? A lot of people are like really on the fence. They like the binge thing.
It's kind of, I guess I could say I'm on the fence too. It's nice to be able to binge, but it's also horrible for your health. And and then you're also then done, and you don't have anything to look forward to. In a lot of these cases you're waiting a year or two between seasons, and so if they do the typical weekly release, that's at least a certain amount of time something for you to look forward to, and then you have to wait. But I don't know, I'm on the fence. I like it, I don't like it. It's kind of like, well, if that's what they're doing, fine.
I can deal. They've been getting review bombed because they're releasing weekly, which is kind of crappy.
Well, that's pussies being pussies.
Yeah. But I remember my first experience with this was when Stranger Things came out. It's such a cliffhanger model of show, and we just binged the whole thing, I think, like overnight. Right. And then it was like this really great experience, and then there's like 2 years until the next one. Oh no.
Yeah.
All right.
That does kind of suck, but only shitheads review bomb things because they're not wah happy with something.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I appreciated being able to kind of binge Umbrella Academy on Netflix. That was neat because I was able to kind of watch a couple episodes at a time and then stop and then a couple episodes and but yeah, whatever, it's fine.
A show, a show I didn't expect to binge watch and then I did. So very good, very good.
Yes, that was a good one. All right, you ready to jump in?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, so we're going to be covering The Boys, published by DC for issues 1 through 6, which we will quickly realize why they were no longer published by DC after that.
They found it icky.
a little bit. It's a little bit. We're gonna get into it. You might agree with them at the end of this, because I do. Dynamite picked them up for the rest of it for issue 7 through 72. Yeah, Dynamite's a little more not publishing the Justice League.
Yes, exactly.
For 78 issues total, it actually just wrapped up. There was a recent kind of wrap up mini series called Becky, and that just ran this year. So it just technically ended, but it actually ended, probably 10 years ago before that. And this is written by Garth Ennis. Warning number 1. Garth Ennis and art by Derek Robertson. All right, so we're going to be covering issues 1 through 6, and that makes up the storylines The Name of the Game and Cherry. I am using the Comixology version of the first collection if you would like to follow along at home. It literally opens first page with a boot to the head, and it really sets the tone for the rest of the series. So if you're squeamish about anything, you're not going to have a good time. Yeah. Physical violence, sexual, everything, all the language, it's all there.
Typical Ennis shit.
Exactly. So if this isn't your first time in the Ennis-verse, welcome home.
He's one of my favorites, and I love him. He wrote Preacher, so
you will feel right at home. Another example of a subversive hero journey, which I'm sure we will savor covering at a future date.
I can't wait. We both read it so much, so it kind of goes against the premise of our show, but it's okay.
Yeah, nobody's going to be explaining anything to anybody. It's just going to be us like fangirling over it.
Exactly.
Probably for like 10 hours. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
All right, so back to The Boys. The first 2 issues make up the Name of the Game chapter, and similar to its name, it's all introductions. So we meet Butcher first. Butcher is a CIA-backed secret agent in a world that has roughly 250,000 unregistered superpowered individuals. So most supers are corporate owned. They're not government controlled. The most famous of which is the Seven. They're a very traditional superhero group backed by a company called Voight International. The CIA in this world essentially uses blackmail and beatings to keep supers in line. And this is because supers are like celebrity athletes who enjoy their lifestyles. Like, this is a good deal for them. And that's key, because in this way they're still human. And they can still be controlled by fairly conventional means. And blackmail and beatings has been the CIA's chocolate and peanut butter since 1947. So this is really their wheelhouse. The CIA is concerned the supers will want more, because currently the only thing stopping them is selfishness, short-sightedness, and disorganization. So otherwise, they could do even more damage, perhaps even destroy the world.
Yep. Yeah.
Thankfully, that doesn't sound horrifyingly familiar.
Being strangely unaware of how that shit doesn't matter to people like them. They can just go ahead and not care about what people think.
Absolutely. And then we learn that Butcher's original team was disbanded, but are being called back into action, seemingly by Butcher's request. But that's left kind of vague, but it's him pitching the idea. Next, we meet our main protagonist. He is a young Scotsman named Huey Campbell, or Wee Huey, as he goes by the rest of the series. And here he is played by Simon Pegg. Huey is Simon Pegg, like Nick Fury is Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes.
So for those of you who don't understand that reference, in Marvel Ultimates artist Brian Hitch in 2001 drew the new Nick Fury to just be Samuel L. Jackson, and it stuck.
It stuck in such a hard way.
Now we have Samuel L. Jackson.
Almost as if they knew they were going to be making movies with him.
It was a good idea.
It was a very good idea. It worked out swimmingly.
Yeah. So, but fortunately, it turns out Simon Pegg is a big Garth Ennis fan, so shrug emoji, he didn't sue.
Lucky ducky. It works out.
Everything worked out.
Yeah.
So when we meet Huey and his girlfriend Robin are at a carnival near their home in Glasgow, Scotland. It's a sweet-ish scene. The dialogue's a little dated and a little homophobic and a little cringy, but somehow in the middle of all of that, they share their first I love yous. And,
this is an older book, so,
yes,
the whole woke movement had, it was not in full swing yet.
No, this and a lot of these moments will kind of date where this story took place.
Absolutely.
They're both drawn lovingly in this scene with big wet Bambi eyes. Like, it's a real showcase of Derek Robertson's romantic comedy vision. And then she is suddenly and egregiously violently caught in the crossfire of a costumed super fight and subsequently smushed into what might best be described as extra chunky human stew.
Yes, she is gibletized.
Yeah, in loving detail. Afterwards, Huey obviously is devastated and traumatized and stone silent. And we get to share this with him because we have to see it in loving detail.
Yes.
Illustrated across a half-page spread.
But I mean, what do you say? Huey doesn't know what to say. There's not a lot of words.
It really is one of those moments.
Yes.
That defy description. This is true. And then lastly, we meet A-Train, and he is our first official superhero. And he is this universe's The Flash.
Yeah.
And as such, he has literally chased a costume villain across the Atlantic Ocean, on foot with his feet, running. And in the process, unfortunately, has also smeared an innocent bystander into a not-so-fine paste.
Yes.
Directly afterwards, he brags about the first thing, the running thing, to the police in great detail, and they don't seem to care and are low-key hostile towards him.
Towards A-Train. They're not
towards
impressed.
A-Train.
Yes. They are not impressed.
No, this is not, they're not fans.
No.
Neither is the crowd, apparently, because as it cuts out, the crowd is all frowns. Nobody's getting jiggy with A-Train right now. And A-Train starts to get a little embarrassed and starts to kind of work his way out of the situation. And that's when Huey finally snaps and just begins screaming because he won't let go of Robin's severed arms
Right.
that are still holding hands with him.
The range of emotions he went through in that scene.
Yeah.
Within moments, the height of love to horror. So
That's true. Yeah, it was quite the roller coaster for poor Huey.
Yes.
It's at that point that A-Train kind of sheepishly asks the police if they have somebody to handle this sort of thing, and then just literally with his feet runs back to America in a very profound retreat.
It is not his job to care about the peasants.
No, he was there to catch the other costumed idiot.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Yes. So later, because of this, Huey is approached by Butcher to be the fifth member of his boys. And Butcher explains that he's looking for someone with a bit of an axe to grind against superheroes. Butcher's end goal is to take down the Seven. He kind of keeps that to himself. He's more of just I'm just looking to protect everybody, but he's got a real target for the Seven.
Yeah. Full story up front is not his style.
Very, very true. Yeah. As a CIA agent, he keeps a little bit close to the vest.
Yes.
And Huey's recent experience with A-Train just now makes him a perfect fit because A-Train is in the Seven. So if you're looking for somebody who has a beef with the Seven, the guy whose love was just gibletized is probably a really great candidate.
Yes, absolutely. It kind of would make you not be a fan. I think that you would throw away your toys after that.
And that actually comes into play later. The fact that Huey is not a fan of superheroes almost becomes a blind spot because he doesn't follow these celebrities like everyone else does. And that can sometimes bite him in the ass. So after the promise of revenge is offered to Huey, Huey agrees to join Butcher in New York City to check out the operation, but specifically no commitments, which comes up a lot. Next, you just get a Butcher has a montage of collecting the rest of the team. So first you have the Frenchman. He's in a coffee shop committing heinous assault on numerous dude bros who made fun of him because this is peak post 9/11 like French hate, and it's all of those like, oh, I forgot freedom fries, I forgot all those stupid terms. They're here, listed out. It's great. Next is the female, which is, I feel is important to note, is a reference to the 1911 poem "The Female of the Species is Deadlier Than the Male" by Rudyard Kipling. And she is found literally removing the faces of mob goons.
Pretty dangerous.
In more loving detail. Lastly, we get MM, who is just like a nice single dad trying to take care of his teenage daughter. But this is an important scene. The other ones were just fun. Like, these are just montages of gross. This other scene is important.
MM is Mother's Milk, by the way.
Mother's Milk, by the way, who goes by MM. The name is explored later down the road, and you see where he gets the name. Fortunate for you. So one of his daughter's friends, who are little on the wrong side of the tracks, ends up threatening Butcher with a gun after a conversation goes south, and in response, Butcher simply grabs the gun from him and crumples it in his hand and offers a cool British quip. And this is our first direct display of any superhuman ability from him. And that answers that question that you had early on, was how are these people able to actually be a credible threat?
Right. It's like, sure, you can be a subversive group that's, they don't really know about, but if they're superheroes, what can you do as a human against these people in a direct confrontation? Nothing. But with superhuman powers,
it levels the playing field.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's the name of the game. So that's the first 2 issues. So we have 3 more to wrap up this arc. So we're at sort of the halfway mark, and things get so much worse. Aren't you excited?
Very much. Very excited for things to get worse. Things always get worse. It's just about keeping us grounded. And yeah, it's the name of the game. Just like you said, the name of the game is getting worse.
That's the spirit. All right. Yeah. Keep that optimism handy, because here we go. All right. Next up is issues 3 through 6. And this is under the title Cherry. If you're feeling uncomfortable already, congratulations. You have good instincts.
I was just going to say, your instincts are on point, bro. You got it.
So the next 3 issues are more hero focused. I'm using air quotes here. They're more hero focused and really builds the case for why you don't have to feel icky about all of the upcoming violence that will soon befall the superheroes. It's really just an aperitif. Here, the rest will be fine.
Much deserved, for sure.
Yes. And on that note, we meet Starlight. Starlight
poor girl.
Is the punching bag of this story, unfortunately. Ennis really lays it on thick in this beginning encounter that she is the innocent outsider, but she is also what our traditional comic book heroes look and act like. So Ennis is telegraphing here, watch what I'm going to do to your heroes.
Yes.
And this is another gate. So just like what we talked about at the top of the show, how precious are traditional heroes to you? Because this is going to set that bar. If you don't like your heroes being criticized, turn now.
Yeah. If you don't like the idea of a hero not being a hero on the inside, don't watch. Listen.
Yeah, this will get you. This will paint a picture.
Yes.
So in this opening scene, Starlight is meeting her hero, Homelander. Homelander is the Superman of this universe, plus a healthy dash of Captain America. So super patriotic themed costume. So like the power set of Superman and the tailor of Alex Jones. Just like really out there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So this is Starlight's first day with the Seven. So she's made it to the big leagues. This is her dream. All right. So this is during the welcoming tour at his very first opportunity. Homelander goes full Harvey Weinstein, and it's gross.
Yeah, it's weird too, because you would think that, this girl being a superhero, she's not a weak person, right? She's not weak. She could defend herself probably to some point against these people, but
just the shock of it is just overwhelming.
It's too much.
And this begins a long string of humiliation and abuse that this character endures. Originally, Ennis designed her as more of a dull fangirl type personality that was solely used in the narrative as a vessel to showcase the Seven's depravity, but thankfully decided against it. Instead, she begins to kind of very quickly fight back against the group and honestly tries to bring some of her values to the Seven, which makes her one of the only likable characters, in this narrative.
You can't introduce morals to monsters. They reject it wholeheartedly.
Right, because in the meantime, she's sexually assaulted by 3 members of the Seven, including Homelander and A-Train. He makes another appearance, which is great. And she's generally snubbed by everyone else. That's her 2 options. The best we get in regards to comeuppance in this arc is seeing one of her abusers abuse another of her abusers. So, yay? I don't really know anymore.
Yeah. It's like good, but no, not good.
Yeah. And at this point, it's like, take what I can get. So, who are the Seven? So, they are, for all intents and purposes, the Justice League. Homelander is Superman. Starlight is Supergirl, which, shame on you, Homelander, double gross. A-Train is the Flash. But I'm gonna name the rest of these, and you guess who their analog is. All right. So Black Noir,
Batman.
All right. Queen Maeve,
Wonder Woman.
Excellent. Jack from Jupiter,
Martian Manhunter.
excellent. The Deep,
Aquaman.
all right. Lamplighter,
Green Lantern.
and Marathon Man.
The Flash.
There you go. Catch. Yeah, little catch there. That was the original Flash. A-Train replaced him because those last 2 are dead.
The Lamplighter and Marathon Man.
Correct. And they were replaced by A-Train and Starlight, respectively. Those 2 characters, Lamplighter and Marathon Man, they died while causing this universe's version of 9/11.
They died in a tragedy that they caused. Okay.
Because everything in this book is awful. All right, so the boys, they set up shop in New York City, presumably to be closer to the Seven. That's where they operate out of as well. Also, the only American on the team is MM. The other boys have different kind of romanticized views of America. So, like Frenchie thinks it's full of cowboys. Butcher thinks it's full of fat rubes. Huey thinks it's full of aliens and conspiracies.
True. Look at Trump.
And but the female has no dialogue in this arc, so I assume she just enjoys removing faces. So the boys' first official target, now that they're in their base of operations, is a group of teenage superheroes called Teenage Kicks. Now, these are our Teen Titans, essentially. Same essential lineup, including Big Game as Nightwing and Dognot as Beast Boy.
Big Game. What? That's weird.
I think it's
Big
a hunting reference, like Big Game. Like he's a hunter,
like a big game hunter.
Yeah,
right. Okay,
yeah.
That makes sense. I don't recall his character, the art, but that's just a funny name. Big Game.
Yeah, and
sounds like a baseball player or something.
Right. And Dognot.
Yeah. That's like a balloon knot, or like a red rocket.
Yeah, because everything in this book is gross.
Is gross.
Yeah,
It's linked to something that it puts images in your head. Let's put it that way.
If there's an opportunity to be gross, it will be gross. That's just a rule of thumb. That's just Yep. All right.
That's Ennis. Yep.
So, speaking of gross, Huey gets tasked to document an orgy thrown on behalf of teenage kicks as like a reward, because how do you reward young people better than with an orgy? So here we get the comic book equivalent of the Kama Sutra. This is also where the high-res digital comicsology subscription really pays for itself.
The good scans, right? I mean,
very original.
Some high-def
really,
scans.
Yeah, really high def. Definitely high def. An important scene amongst the mayhem, though, is a panel that shows a group of sex workers doing lines of what looks like blue cocaine between clients. Huey, meanwhile, is taking copious notes of all this in their sweet A-Team van.
Nice.
This, kind of like Derek Robertson's other somewhat inconsistencies, this is drawn like Doctor Who's TARDIS. Like, it is way bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. It has an interior like the Ninja Turtle van. Like, it's
nice.
Weird, and it's enormous. So Butcher comes to check on him in the van. Just testing the water, see how he's doing. They have a nice chat. And then out of nowhere, Butcher sticks Huey with a big, cartoonishly large needle gun.
All of the good juices come in a giant needle.
The scarier the delivery device, the more
of course
cooler the juice.
Yeah, of course. And nothing to worry about.
No, I think Barry Bonds said that. So Huey obviously freaks out and like completely WTFs in Scottish. I have no idea what he's saying, but it's a lot of Scottish comes out of him at once. And Butcher explains to Huey that he now has superpowers. Dun, 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 dun. Temporary and nothing crazy like laser eyes or flight or anything that could get you in like real trouble. It is super strength and durability, roughly 20 times human.
Hey, that's pretty useful stuff, I'd say.
It's good stuff, and that's
good stuff.
That's what levels that playing field. That super magic blue cocaine.
Yeah. Okay.
Fun fact: it's the same substance the sex workers were using to keep up with their clientele. Funner fact: it's also what allows the boys to go toe to toe with the supers to keep them in line. Funnest fact: it will make your poop blue for about 2 weeks.
I wouldn't do it if it didn't make my poop blue for 2 weeks. Okay,
is that a selling point? So
that's a selling point.
You wouldn't be mad if I stuck you with like instant Superman juice, even with the blue poops.
Nope.
Factored in.
Nope. That'd be amazing.
Right.
Yep.
Good to know. I'm just
that's like a nice. It's a good consolation prize.
Yeah. No, I'm just taking some notes here just so I remember for later that you consented to this. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Absolutely. And that blue stuff kind of also the fact that the sex workers are using it to keep up the superhero clientele kind of answers the question if Lois could handle Superman, right? Like that's always been a question on people's minds. How would she be able to handle it? Well, not without drugs.
Through the magic of cocaine.
Yes.
Gets its own theme song.
Super cocaine.
Yeah. I think the theme song would have a lot more synths in it and be way more 80s. So after this awesome gift of superpowers, Huey is totally ungrateful and continues to WTF in Scottish and storms out of the van and quits. Yeah. Like a jerk.
I mean, it's kind of like, I hate Nazis and I'm fighting against Nazis and he stuck you with a needle that made you a Nazi. You're not going to be happy about it.
You know what? That's a very good way to look at it.
You're going to be pissed. You're like, what the
And he
don't like these people.
That is legitimately his argument. Like in the book, he's like, aren't we fighting against these people? And then you did it to me. Like, what's wrong with you? How do you not see this hypocrisy?
I think anybody that's level-headed would think the same thing.
Yeah. We, on the other hand, would just go sweet and throw the van for no reason.
It's like, I'd be Tim the Enchanter. I was making explosions fucking everywhere because I could. There'd be no stop. Can't stop, won't stop.
Yes, that's our motto around here. All right, so issue 5 opens with two strangers meeting each other in Central Park. It's a nice break. and it plays like the 22-minute mark of like a 90s romantic comedy.
Nice.
It's very sweet. It's fall. It's got nice colors. It's a nice break, honestly. Our strangers are Huey and Annie, otherwise known as Starlight.
In her normal clothes.
So Starlight is out of costume, and Huey does not recognize her. Part of this is because he's not superhero obsessed, and she's brand new. So he has no idea who she is. 2, this is just like a solid Clark Kent moment. Like, she took off her cape and put on like her glasses, and nobody has any idea. Her costume is fully open face.
Yeah, fully open face plus super revealing, because just like in the show, there's a big change.
Yeah.
And now she's just wearing regular clothes.
Yeah.
But
yeah, she's wearing like a sweater. It's just a nice moment. And they bond over bitching about their new jobs, but they aren't specific. They keep their secret identities. They both kind of imply they just have like really crappy office jobs, which is kind of funny how they kind of play that off of each other.
There's a lot of stress.
Understandably. Like, you're going to work at a new place. It maybe wasn't what it was cracked up to be.
Coworkers can suck, right?
Yeah, we've all been there. Hopefully not as bad as Starlight. Hopefully it was just, like crappy coffee or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you can kind of bond with them over that. And they cement their status through this interaction as our guides into this world, because we're still really early on. And they're new to it as well. So we're going to kind of take the journey through them. They do a good job. They cheer each other up. They give us a moment kind of to catch our breath too, and then they part ways. And there's a cute little last panel where she waits for Huey to be out of sight before she kind of takes flight back towards the 7 headquarters.
It's a good, solid trauma bond.
Oh, there's so many trauma bonds in this story. Oh man, yeah, that's a great term for this. So the 7 headquarters, it's it's a bit of a mix of the Shield helicarrier and the Justice League satellite. So lower orbit, but still big and goofy. Curious, do you know what the official name of the Justice League satellite is?
No, I don't know the name of the Justice League satellite. I mean, I read a lot of comics, but it seems like my brain would just kind of throw that away.
Right.
But what is it? Yeah.
It is the Justice League satellite.
Yeah, well, okay.
All right.
So,
but okay,
yeah.
That said, do you know what the official name was of the second Justice League satellite?
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to guess the Justice League Satellite 2.
You are correct, sir.
What do I win?
The knowledge that comic book writers like leaving early on a Friday.
No shit.
All right, so after this sweet moment, we cut back to the boys. They have sent a package to the Teenage Kicks headquarters containing all of the blackmail collected during the previously mentioned festivities.
Which is funny, considering that these kind of people shouldn't give a crap what anybody knows about them. Mm-hmm. But in this world, their image is everything.
In this world, they have bosses. They have people they have to worry about. They have HR departments. They are the same as everybody else, except they can like shoot lasers out of their eyes.
Yeah. They have, image counselors and
absolutely,
all that.
Absolutely.
Kind of stuff. Superstars.
And a helpful note is attached to this package, and it says, "Someone gets thrown to the wolves. I decide tomorrow, or you decide today." Which is so sweet. That's so
starting. Great. Yeah.
All right.
Dismantling. They're starting the there's some brain games going on. Yes.
Absolutely. Because this is really intended to just A, send a message, and B, shred them apart.
Sure. Infighting abounds. Yes.
Because we cut to the inside of Teenage Kicks headquarters and get to witness the ensuing meltdown as they collectively decide who will be humiliated on a global scale.
Right. Everybody would think it's not going to be me. Why should it be me? It should be you. Absolutely.
Right.
Of course.
And one of the factors, of course, in this discussion is whose sponsorship loss would affect the team the most financially. Yeah. The deviant with the NRA sponsorship just coasts right through this conversation. He was not worried at all. So Teenage Kicks decides on their sacrificial lamb and begins the PR process. So they have a press conference. He comes out in front of the mic. I'm so sorry to those I've hurt. Thoughts and prayers, yada, yada, yada. It's real standard Anthony Weiner kind of stuff.
Sure. And it goes well. It goes over well, even in our world, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, I've done something bad and I'm really sorry.
Yes.
And yeah.
In this story, it absolutely works. Like no one, it's not like the scene in Scotland where nobody's buying it. In this scene, it absolutely works. It's all about the framing.
Sure. We're in America, the land of the rubes.
The fat rubes, if you ask
The
Butcher.
fat rubes. Right. The fat rubes. Correct. Thank you.
So during this time, Huey unquits and nobody notices. And this will become a reoccurring theme. He kind of drama queens his way off the set a few times and then just kind of like shows up again and nobody knew he was gone.
It's one of those things where you definitely understand why he had his drama queen moment.
Absolutely. They're
horrible.
Yes.
Horrible things.
They're not unfounded, but it's also, but he's entering this world of a group who's doing things that are it's on a much bigger scale. So when he has these,
he's wee Huey after all.
Exactly. Yeah. He's teeny tiny.
Wee Huey.
He's fun sized. So, but they also, they understand it's a process.
Sure. It's a lot to take in.
I'd imagine. And the blue poop, it's got
that would take a week or two just to get used to.
Just to get used to.
Yeah.
All right. So then we cut to the 7 and it's back in their boardroom and Homelander has called a meeting to talk about what happened to Teenage Kicks. So the whole 7 are there. They're none of the business people, none of anyone else, no hangers on. Closed door, team only. Yeah. Homelander knows it's Butcher and is visibly concerned by this fact, which is another interesting twist that this omnipotent being is very rattled by the idea of this guy messing with his life. The rest of the team says it can't be and refer back to some sort of incident that made them all call a truce. This incident is referenced a few times, but is covered later in the story. But essentially things got so bad, they all just walked away.
Yeah. And I don't know what it is at this point. I haven't read up to that point, so I don't even know what the deal is yet.
And they cover it more thoroughly. And it's also why they needed a new 5th in Huey.
Homelander being the monster that he is, being visibly rattled. It kind of
right.
That would make me think that Butcher is not a good guy.
And yeah, for the scariest person in the room to be scared of someone else, lends a lot of weight to that character. Sure. So Teenage Kicks gets tipped off that Butcher and his crew were responsible for the blackmail, and it's implied that Homelander's the one who gives them this information. They kind of just get it. They get a letter hey, look into these people because they're the ones who did this. They don't know who got it either. But they're young and stupid, and this could have been a trap. It wasn't, not really, but very stupid.
But showing Homelander being, it would make sense that he would want to get rid of this Butcher and his pals ASAP.
And doesn't want to be involved directly.
Right.
Right.
Because PR.
And also, I think he's scared. I don't think he wants to go toe-to-toe with Butcher either.
Not a good idea.
Let's send 8 superpowered teenagers. Maybe they can do it. So this leads to a showdown at Boys headquarters. Teenage Kicks arrive in full costume regalia, and the boys are just leaving the office for the day. They're completely unaware of any of this. They're just walking out to the van.
Yeah, the boys don't wear costumes. There's not they don't have suits. They just wear their clothes. They're just normal folks that could rip you in half.
They have a trench coat mafia kind of uniform. It's the black overcoat, black pants, black shoes kind of thing, but it's not. It's the opposite of loud, right? It's being in the background.
It's the black car that you don't notice following you kind of situation.
Exactly. And on that note, the team leader, Big Game, who we were talking about earlier, he's essentially Nightwing in OG Wolverine colors, brown and yellow, the OG in that weird 70s period of Wolverine. But it's the Nightwing costume in that color scheme. And Big Game, he gives a great superhero speech. It's a little bit on the blue side, but they were upset
Sure.
And the issue ends with a classic pose-off cliffhanger. You have to love it. Like, it's just the squaring off. This is going to be great. Which leads us to issue 6, and that's our conclusion. And it ends predictably gross. This time...
Much anticipated violence. Yes.
Yes, here we go. And it begins. So this time we open with a super gross headbutt. So we've narratively come full circle because Garth Ennis is so clever.
Start with a foot, end with the head.
Yeah, exactly. And then this leads to the boys graphically savaging the teenage kicks. It's like not even close. It's like watching one of those nature documentaries when they suddenly go really dark. And Huey understandably isn't prepared for this and just tries to leg it out of there.
Like, has he forgotten that he had superpowers at this point?
He actually doesn't know if they've kicked in.
Yeah, okay, that's right.
So that's
okay.
concern 1. Concern 2 is he didn't sign up for the fighting part. He kind of thought he was just going to be like watching weirdos in a van.
Yeah, he's a stakeout guy.
Right. To which Butcher quickly corrects him and tasks him to fight one of the lesser kicks. His name is Blarneycock.
Blarneycock.
Who is an Irish-themed, chicken-based superhero.
All right, yeah, that sounds about Ennis right.
Because everything in this book is gross.
Gross, yeah. Blarneycock. Green cock, chicken-based superhero.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, you got it. So during the ensuing scuffle, Blarney gets the advantage over Huey as a trained fighter would.
Of course.
And very realistically threatens to thumb Huey's eyeballs out. Huey panics, understandably, and unfortunately punches a hole straight through Blarneycock's chest.
You can't blame the guy, right? Like, he is panicking.
Sure. I mean, someone's going to thumb out your eyeballs.
Yeah.
You punch, right?
Yeah.
Everyone freezes. And Butcher yells at Huey that he's not supposed to actually kill them. That is a problem. Huey freezes again, as is his character, and the team has to remove Blarney from his arm like a man-sized meat bracelet.
Yes.
MM quietly reassures Huey as he's doing it and says, "It's okay. It happens. Just don't look at it," which I think is very sweet and establishes MM as a really great team mom. You know?
Yeah, he's got a lot of concern for everybody's well-being. You know, calm down.
Right.
Everything's
that's
fine.
That's what you need
okay.
in that moment.
Yeah. When you punch a hole through another person's chest,
through another human being.
You need somebody there to let you know that it happens.
These are those times.
It's okay. We've all been there.
Sure. It happens to everybody. Listen.
Right.
Don't worry about it.
It's normal.
So one of the last remaining kicks takes advantage of the moment and full on energy blasts Butcher, like Dragon Ball Z style, lets loose. Once the smoke clears, Butcher is completely unaffected, walks over to him and just calmly rips his thumbs off, as you do in that situation.
Thumbs are important. That would ruin my day if I lost my thumbs.
That might make you stop and reconsider what you were doing with your life.
Right. You know, my most powerful attack was met with nothing other than my thumbs being ripped off.
Mild
So,
irritation and thumb removal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So after this, the fight is over. And Butcher dismisses the rest of the boys before the police arrive. And the next scene has Butcher pulling a badge from his coat and saying to himself, "Oh, Huey, now they're going to have one of those fucking funerals."
Oh, it's the procession down the street. It's the bagpipes. It's the fallen soldier.
Because we cut to the funeral of Blarneycock. The vice president of the U.S. is giving the eulogy. Here he is portrayed as a large, dim-witted man who makes numerous gaffes during his speech. That doesn't sound familiar. Mm-hmm. The rest of the teenage...
Was he a shade of orange?
No, actually...
I'm just wondering about the color palette. You know?
This is... No, he's actually... this is pre-current events. This is just kind of a happy accident. So the rest of the Teenage Kicks team is shown on stage in various almost comical full body casts to show that they didn't really win the day. But at the end of the scene, we see a newscaster saying that Blarney was killed by time terrorists and that he died honorably in the line of duty as a superhero.
Time terrorist. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Time terrorist. Yeah.
That feels like a Flash villain too. Like that might even be a
Time
callback.
It really does.
I'll discover
There's
later.
a lot. Yes. There's a lot of time stuff. Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. All right. So Huey decides to quit again. Butcher convinces him to stay again. But this time Huey asks Butcher like what his beef is with the supers. We know Huey's trauma. Why is Butcher in this game? And Butcher tells Huey the story of Becky, his wife. And Becky was raped by a super and got pregnant. And there are 3 ways in this universe that you can get superpowers. 1, get them directly from Voight via their labs. 2, unintentionally consume the chemicals Voight uses, which we explore more in MM's story. And 3, lastly, be the direct descendant of a super. The baby that Becky was carrying developed at an accelerated pace and ended up just crawling out all on its own, killing her in the process.
Got tired of being cooped up, I see.
It was done.
It was time to explore.
Yeah.
As babies
Yeah.
do. Wait, so that kind of makes me think that there are different versions of this drug. Like, because if it's temporary for the boys, but can be passed down to your children from another super, that means that there has to be a different kind of Vought drug, right?
I think it's about doses. I think it's
like if you take too much.
right. I think if you take like the whole deal, then you get the full package. But they give like little bits to the sex workers. They give little bits to the boys.
Right.
You know, I think it's a volume thing. But I'm not 100% sure. They might get into that later, and I haven't gotten there.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's some kind of the descendant, the child of a super would be less powerful or more powerful. You know, I'm just wondering about this whole, does your body metabolize it out? You know, I like to think of that kind of little minutia.
And they do. They definitely get into it much further, especially in MM's story. A lot of the background of that story is what happens when you work at a Voight International factory.
Okay.
Yeah.
You prick yourself on a needle and you're fucked.
Essentially, or inhale the wrong, dust and while you're pregnant. And you end up having superpowered kids.
All right.
Yeah. So Butcher heavily implies that Homelander was the father of this child. And there we go to Butcher's motivation.
Homelander's quite rapey.
He's a little rapey. Yeah, definitely.
Very, very much not Superman.
Definitely. Like I think like the front of his superhero outfit is like snaps. I think it just pulls off. It's awful.
It's quick release.
It's terrible.
Oh man. Oh, that's built with specific purposes in mind.
Just awful.
Sounds like Ennis.
And so with this revelation, we hard cut to Homelander and the Seven having their own press conference. They make a thoughts and prayers statement for Teenage Kicks and also take this opportunity to premiere Starlight's new costume.
Yes.
Now with 90% less fabric. She awkwardly poses knock-kneed for the cameras in what is essentially the Borat swimsuit.
Oh my god! I mean, that's pretty typical of like 90s.
Yeah, that's what Lady Death wears.
Yeah. Oh, right. I'm not going to complain.
No.
But I get it.
For the narrative purposes of this story, we understand what this implies.
Right.
So we get the feed, and then we cut to the boys watching the Seven's press conference. And MM asks Butcher if he thinks it's possible that there might be at least 1 or 2 good supers out there. This is obviously like a reference to Starlight, because they're watching her go through this. And in a full splash page of Butcher in the foreground and wee Huey standing passively with slumped shoulders in the background, Butcher responds, well, if there are... Fuck them. And that is called foreshadowing, kids.
Yes, because they don't stay good.
No.
And it also kind of is telling on MM's part. They have superpowers as well. They could be considered supers. And if they're saying, are there any good supers out there? Well,
they know what they've done.
They don't even think themselves as good supers.
I can't imagine you could. So Does this complicate things for Starlight and Huey's burgeoning romance?
Of course.
Yeah, probably. Does Huey threaten to quit the team again? Yeah.
Well, of course.
Yeah. Is there a whole plot line centered around a zombie Blarney cock trying to retrieve his lost rectal hamster? I think you sadly know the answer to that.
Yes.
All right. So if you enjoyed this, all of this and more in the Adventures of the Boys by Dynamite Comics.
Excellent. Well, again, it's not Dynamite yet. Not right now. Right now it's DC, and they have yet to discover over their first 6 issues just exactly what they published.
Yeah, no one's quite read it yet. They're like, oh yeah, no, that new one. Yeah, we'll get right to that.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of chuckling and laughing during this episode, and it's really an uncomfortable Jesus Christ, what are we reading? Kind of uncomfortable chuckle, you know?
Yeah,
it's just so awful. It's so awful. You just have to kind of chuckle.
Yeah. Unfortunately, and
or cry. Yeah, you can cry too.
Yeah. The first take of this was just us crying. That's actually why we had to get rid of it.
Yeah, the technical difficulties is we couldn't stop it. Yeah,
it was 4 hours of just open weeping, and we thought that might not be the right foot to lead this with.
I mean, starting off the show, this is a strong entry. So, yeah, it's good.
Absolutely. All right. The next segment is the hold list, where we talk about some other things we're enjoying, comic related or not. You have been trying to get me to watch Raised by Wolves on HBO Max.
Yes. So, Raised by Wolves, it's hard to describe. There's a lot going on. I haven't really paid attention to what anybody else is saying about the show. I don't really watch reviews of TV shows anymore. I just kind of watch it, and if I like it, I like it. And I really like this show. It's really cool. It's let's see, it was created by Aaron Guzikowski.
Excellent.
And I really hope I didn't butcher that.
That was an excellent attempt.
Thank you, Aaron Guzikowski. It's premiered on HBO Max. It's already gone through its first 10 episodes, the first season. The first 2 episodes were directed by Ridley Scott, who also serves as executive producer.
It's a nice pedigree.
So, absolutely. If you're a fan of the Alien franchise, any of that kind of stuff, you kind of know what to expect. It has his signature all over it. It's a gray palette. It's really good. There's not a lot I can say about it without spoiling certain things.
Okay.
It's basically it centers around 2 androids, mother and father, and simply their task is to raise human children on a planet that is not Earth. It was destroyed by a huge war between atheists and religious folks.
Really?
So, religious people and not religious people have basically destroyed the planet, and there's only one way for humans to continue, and that is to leave Earth because it's a shithole. So it's these 2 androids that are raising these kids, and shit happens. And I can't really get into much else.
Right.
It takes place on an alien world with two parents that aren't human raising humans, and
it looks nice. Like it's pretty.
Yeah, I'm surprised. It has a huge budget, I assume. I have never looked at the numbers. Again, those details don't really matter.
Sure.
But the CG is all really good, in my opinion. And it really does feel like I'm only on episode 7. I haven't watched the last few episodes. And it feels like so far a 7-hour movie of good quality.
Right.
It's not cheap. The actors are all really good. Even the kid actors are good. The chick who plays Mother is awesome. I think she does a great job. She's terrifying, but also what's the word I'm looking for? You can empathize with what she's going through. And there's some stuff going on in her that I can't tell. It'll spoil it, but it's very good. If you like alien worlds or android stories or just Ridley Scott stuff, you're gonna like this show, Raised by Wolves.
Is it kind of quiet sci-fi, or is it action-y? Is it old Star Trek or new Star Trek?
No. Well, I would say that it is in between the two. Right. It does explore, philosophical types things, androids raising humans and all that kind of stuff. But it has plenty of it has action.
Gotcha.
It has its moments of action. Not a lot. It's not every episode. So yeah.
And is that release all at once, or is it weekly schedule kind of thing?
This is a weekly thing.
Okay.
Yep. It came out, but it's already all out. So
Okay.
I would imagine that if you have HBO Max, you probably have access to all 10 episodes.
Nice. All right. Yeah. I've been meaning to check that out. It's on my list of like non-work related stuff to watch.
Sure. Yeah, it's not comic book related. It's not a graphic novel as far as I know.
Yeah.
It's just created for TV, and I think it's really excellent.
Yeah.
I really hope we've all been watching these big, epic, long shows with these huge budgets, and we've all been let down, I think, by a lot of the endings. This is the first season, so I don't know how long it's going to go. I really hope that they don't jump the shark. Right. I really hope that they don't screw the ending.
Right.
So far, really loving it.
Nice. Yeah,
it's very good.
And it's nice to like get away from like get some like non-comic book related stuff in your media diet. On that note,
True.
I'm going to cover Umbrella Academy season 2 on Netflix.
Is that a comic? I'm not sure.
That is based on an original comic.
Oh, comics.
Yeah. Okay. It's that comic book thing I'm into. I'm trying to get you into it. I keep bugging you about it. I keep telling you all these dumb stories.
Yeah. Sci-fi doesn't stray too far. I don't get too far away from the comic book world.
No.
The real world is a shithole. I like to keep my entertainment fantastic.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
yes. The shinier the future, really, the better for me.
Yeah, exactly.
So I will be covering Umbrella Academy season 2 on Netflix. Like I said, this is based on the original comic written by Gerard Way of My Chemical Romance fame, and with art by Gabriel Ba. This show, like, it has great music. Like, nearly every episode has essentially like a musical number. Most are great, only some are cringy, which is like a good ratio, to me. Number 5 is played by this really great 16-year-old actor named Aidan Gallagher, and the show really hangs on his performance.
Shit, I thought he was younger than 16.
Really? Yeah.
Damn, he does a great job.
He does an amazing job, and for all of this to hang on him is very impressive. And he's also playing a character who's older than everyone else, which doesn't seem wonky. Like, he plays the character so well, you believe he's a cranky old man, even though he looks like he's 14, which is, a real testament to his acting ability.
Yeah, fantastic. I had no idea he was 16. I thought he was younger. He did a great job. I really enjoyed the show. Yeah.
And at 16 now. So when he was filming it, he may have been, like 14, 15, especially season 1.
Yeah. We'd have to look that up. I don't know for sure.
Yeah. And it feels like a colorful mix of like the X-Men and Men in Black. Like, it has the bureaucracy of the Fantastic kind of nailed down. Mm-hmm. Like, kind of like how Cabin in the Woods, like you just have the mundanity of like these really crazy supernatural events. And it feels like what a good X-Men movie would feel like. Like, it has meaningful separate stories unified by like something bigger, like having powers or the end of the world or getting adopted by a weird bald British guy. Like, these are all things we all go through, that that need to be discussed more.
There's a lot of blasé-ness in the characters. It's kind of like,
yes.
And a lot of rejection too. Like, I don't want this.
Right.
This is crazy shit. I don't want to do it. And,
right.
Klaus, he tries to reject it on a daily basis.
Right.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
And it goes back to kind of our heroes in the real world, theme of it would be a lot of pressure to have these kind of abilities.
Absolutely.
And finally, like, realistically, it was a nice break from The Boys. It's a story about neurotic, superpowered people who are at least trying to do the right thing.
Yes.
Which was a nice break after all of this.
Yeah, these are more. They're definitely more real characters in the fact that depression, fear.
Yes.
These kids are scared.
Yeah.
And the comic book is the art is awesome.
I love it.
It's great.
I love it.
The art is fantastic. It has a very, the tone of the books and even the show also has kind of a Hellboyish.
Yes.
Again, it's kind of the blasé, like, this shit happens and I got to deal with it. Yeah.
And that, it fit the spot for me at the moment. So I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen season 1, just as good, if not more colorful. The season 2, is kind of a time travel tale, and it takes place a lot in like the 60s and stuff. And for some reason, the color palette is a little bit more like brown, but still, definitely check it out.
Is their way of saying that this shit's old.
Yeah,
this happened a long time
ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like old equals brown.
Brown.
It's just like fake wood paneling everywhere.
Isn't it a Midwest? It takes place in Texas?
Yes.
Dallas, that's
Texas.
Right.
Yeah, it kind of revolves around the JFK assassination.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
So it's very good. I highly recommend it.
Excellent.
All right.
Yeah.
So finally, moving on to our last segment, our IRL Hero of the Week. This is a segment where we take an opportunity to spotlight heroes in our own universe. This week we are covering Brian Pulido. And I wanted to ask you, Jeremy, to talk about that Lady Death Kickstarter that you were digging on.
Yeah. So, I just found out that Brian Pulido, and this is me being a bad fan, I guess. I had no idea that like 13 years ago, Brian Pulido started Coffin Comics, and they continued on with Lady Death in this comic book company. And I don't know the saga of Evil Ernie losing the rights. Dynamite, I think, has the rights to it. But he does Kickstarters for Lady Death, and I just found out about it. They're up to chapter 12. So I pledged, I found it, lost my shit, and pledged.
Yeah, you did.
Because I was super excited about it. Didn't go too crazy, but I think I'm going to get a nice, good gift coming up here in the mail soon.
And for a quick reference to the listeners, Jeremy's not going crazy is crazy to the rest of us. So when he says I'm not going crazy, that means he's not literally buying every single thing. Please go ahead, continue.
If I had the money to do the full, like the highest tier, I absolutely would have. The highest tier selection was under $1,000. So I don't know. Is that crazy to you? Crazy to me? If I had it, I'd do it.
For our community, never. But yes,
it's if it's what you love, it's okay.
That's right.
So I was really stoked, and that kind of got me reminiscing and thinking about, all of the 90s and me finding Chaos comic books in the early 2000s. They were still in swing right back then, and this was in like Scottsdale, Arizona. And Brian Pulido is a great guy. It's he's on the board of directors for the Hero Initiative. And if you don't know what the Hero Initiative is, basically, in so many words, it helps out comic book creators financially, finding jobs. It gets them medical services, that kind of thing. So very good.
Yes, very great organization.
Yeah, very, very excellent. A lot of people know that comic book creators, they don't get paid. They're not rich. They're not, even if they have a super popular book, it's not like they're going to be millionaires overnight. They don't make a lot of money, and they don't have regular work. So the Hero Initiative is there to help them out, and it's awesome. So he's on the board of directors for the Hero Initiative, and that's awesome. He's received, a lot of awards. He's been in the industry for quite a long time. He received the Defender of Liberty Award from the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund. He's received the Inkpot Award for his contributions to the comic arts, which makes sense. He's done a lot for a lot of people.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and back in 1999, 2000, I don't remember. I want to say 2000. I went to a Chaos comic book convention in Scottsdale, Arizona with one of my friends when we were in college out there in Arizona. And it was awesome. It was amazing. I met artists. I met Brian Pulido and his wife and the whole team, and they were amazing. The whole weekend was kind of this whole Chaos con. And the next morning, like, he bought all of us breakfast at like IHOP. Like, we all sat around a bunch of tables pushed together. We just talked about comic books, and a lot of these people, a lot of the fans that were there, there was him, his wife, and like other creators, but it was mostly fans. And it was just them taking the fans out to breakfast, hanging out with it. It was crazy. Like I didn't ever expected for something like that to happen. And some of these people had flown from other countries, England and all this kind of stuff. These are hardcore Chaos comic book fans, and so besides everything else that he's done for the comic book world, he's just an awesome guy. And so because of that, I felt like it was worth mentioning. He still makes comics. He's still out there.
Absolutely.
He does Kickstarters. If you're a fan of old Chaos comic books and you had forgotten about Evil Ernie or Lady Death, check them out.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
Absolutely.
CoffinComics.com.
Absolutely. So, Brian Polito, you are our IRL Hero of the Week, because anyone who buys pancakes for my friends is a friend of mine.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that's going to do it. That's it for this week. Next week, Jeremy will be covering Batman Year One, which I'm very excited about.
Yes. A lot less rape and murder.
Yeah, this is more traditional DC. DC kept Batman. So that's a good move on their part.
Lots of mental illness.
Sure. But when you're rich, it's, you're just eccentric.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. You're just a boy with his toys.
and bats who probably carry rabies.
Right,
all right.
Of course.
Email us at mindingthemultiverse@gmail.com to recommend story arcs for us to cover in the future. Tell us what we're wrong about. Or if you just have a box of old problematic Chaos comics you need to offload before your kids find them, Jeremy will help you out.
Absolutely. Email, yes. And when you point out everything wrong with what we've said, we know. We're wrong.
I don't. Go ahead. I love abuse. All right.
We're doing our best.
On that note, for Minding the Multiverse, I am Gabriel.
And I'm Jeremy.
And remember, all of this is now canon.